So today you will be sharing sutta which I mentioned yesterday, Majjhima Nikāya 111. So he will read the sutta for you, okay, and share.
Okay, so this sutta is it's a very interesting sutta, and it's one that is particularly helpful for your practice on this retreat. It is the description of Sariputta's development of his practice and how that practice came to fulfillment. And it describes the stages of understanding that he went through. And these are the same stages of understanding that are available for you to go through as your practice develops. Sariputta was one of the two principal disciples of the Buddha. He and Moggallana were actually older than the Buddha and were already well established in practice from other teachers when they heard of the Buddha and he had started teaching. And Sariputta simply heard from a wandering monk who had a very brief introduction to the Buddha's teaching. And that wandering monk said, I can't really teach you what the Buddha teaches. All I can say is what I understand. And if I remember rightly, Bhante, what you said is, because this arises, that comes to be. When this ceases, that ceases.
For all things which has a beginning, the end has been told. So that means that everything has a beginning and an end. That means everything is impermanent.
And that was enough for Sariputta to go off and find the Buddha and come back and say what he had discovered to Moggallana, his friend, who was also practicing with that teacher.
And one more thing, this monk who he met was Asaji. He was one of the first 5 monks who the Buddha gave the first teaching to. Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is very famous. So that is the first sermon which he gave. He was the one of the 5 disciples, Asaji.
And so Sariputta's development came progressively. And he is the principal disciple for insight. Moggallana's progress was very quick, quicker than Sariputta's, and he is the principal disciple for, if you like, psychic ability. Between the two of them, they represent the whole of the development of the practice, which of course was embraced by the Buddha. The Buddha had both qualities. So this sutta is the Anupada Sutta, one by one as they occurred. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus. Bhikkhus, Venerable Sir, they replied, the Blessed One said this. Bhikkhus, Sariputta is wise. Sariputta has great wisdom. Sariputta has wise wisdom. Sariputta has joyous wisdom. Sariputta has quick wisdom. Sariputta has keen wisdom. Sariputta has penetrative wisdom. During half a month, bhikkhus, or students, Sariputta gained insights into states one by one as they occurred. So these are states of mind. Now, Sariputta's insight into states one by one as they occurred was this. Here, students, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, Sariputta entered upon and abided in the first jhana, the first knowledge, which is accompanied by thinking and examining thought, with joy and happiness born of seclusion. So what we have is a state here where we are secluded from sensual pleasures. So sensual pleasures are everything associated with the five outward senses, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the tactile sense of the body, and the mind, the sixth sense. But the sensual pleasures are the outward senses. Okay? And to be secluded from those is to not be paying attention to them. The mind is secluded from them. So you close your eyes, your mind is secluded from sight. But you can still hear things, you can still feel things. So when you have a sensation in the body, what do? You are aware of it if it's distracted your mind. You soften around it. You're aware that your mind has been taken. You release away from that pulling into that sensation. You relax the tension inside your head around your brain. You softly smile and you come back to the sense of loving kindness. So you re-seclude your mind. This is what it means to be secluded from sensual pleasures or any indulgence in the senses. Secluded from unwholesome states. What is an unwholesome state? Anything we take personally, and during the practice, anything that takes us away from the object of our attention. So the first jhana is accompanied by thinking and examining thought. And this is the activity of mind which generates the, if you like, the loving kindness, the wish. May I be well, may I be happy, may my mind be peaceful and calm. This is the activity of the mind. And it's a necessary state, and it's helpful to move into the first jhana. And it's a characteristic of the first jhana. So that aspect of mind is present. But what we have dropped away to get into the first jhana, what we have left behind are the hindrances. Because we can't move into a jhana with the hindrances present. They're mutually exclusive. And the hindrances are our attachment and aversions, the restlessness of the mind, the sense of sloth and torpor, that reluctance to apply ourselves and to sustain our attention, and doubt, whether I can do this, whether I understand it, whether what I'm experiencing is real. When we start to move into the jhanas, we recognize that, there's something about what's being described that maybe I can experience. And the states in the first jhana, the thinking and examining thought, the rapture, the pleasure, the unification of mind. So these are characteristics of the first jhana. So when we have the sense of rapture, this is a pleasant feeling. We know when we're in jhana because there's a sense of uplift in what we're doing. We have a sense of pleasure. And we're also aware of this collectedness of mind, this unification of mind. Now, this is not a focused mind, but it is a mind that's gathered to take attention to one thing, when that one thing is the feeling of the loving kindness. But we're not exclusively holding our attention on that. We're simply aware of it, because we don't want to absorb into it. And the reason we don't want to do that is because then we won't see the movements of mind. And as we said in the last few evenings, it's the movements of mind that have all of the information and knowledge that we need for wisdom. If we understand why our mind moves and how it moves, then we'll understand where the sense of dukkha comes and where the relief of dukkha comes. And as Bhante was saying, it's much more the how than the why. We're not interested in the stories behind our thoughts. We're interested in the process of thinking. How did that arise? So we have thinking and examining thought, the rapture, the pleasure, the unification of mind. And then we have something which is present in all of the jhana, the contact. So when you're in a jhana, you still have the contact with the earth element. You still feel the contact with the floor. Even if your body may become less clear, contact is still there. If a fly lands on you, you'll feel that contact. That's an aspect of it in later jhanas. So the contact is present. Feeling. Yes, your experience in your mind can be pleasant, unpleasant, or neither pleasant or unpleasant. That is still present. There's nothing about the jhana which means that you won't experience an unpleasant sensation. But the quality of the jhana means that it won't disturb your mind. The perception. The perception is the recognition of things. So this involves memory. The volition. Well, volition here is chaitana, it's intention. So we've said many times already so far on this retreat how important intention is. And mind itself. And this is the heart mind, the chitta, the seat of the emotions. So, with the contact, feeling, perception, intention, and mind, the zeal now. The zeal is, if you like, the intention we place, the impulse we place in our practice. The zeal, the decision, well, that's the resolve we have. We've resolved to sit for a time, and we've resolved to use the 6 R's. The energy. We need enough energy for our awareness to be present. Too much and we're restless. Too little and we dull out. Mindfulness. Being aware that we are applying our mind to see movements of mind. The equanimity. So this is seeing things as they really are. Having the balance of mind simply to observe them. And the attention. These states were defined by Sariputta one by one as they occurred. So here we have a very clear statement around the importance of intention and attention. Known to him, those states arose. Known they were present. Known they disappeared. So here's the impermanence. We see they arise, they persist, and then they change. But these are not permanent aspects of your experience. They're qualities that are present in the state of first jhana. He understood thus, so indeed these states, not having been, come into being. Having been, they vanish. Regarding those states, he abided, unattached, unattracted, unrepelled, independent, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. So this is a wonderful statement of simply observing, not getting involved, not making the experience mine. It's simply seeing it unfold and seeing it arise, seeing it persist, and seeing it change. So if we're attached, we're pleased when it arises, and then we're disappointed when it disappears. But if we simply allow ourselves to observe it, then we just see the nature of these things, that they are impermanent. And because they're impermanent, they're not under our control. So that's showing us an aspect of anatta, that these are not self, they're not a permanent thing. And when we do attach to them, and then they're not there, and most of you probably have had one sitting which felt particularly okay, and then you sit down the next time and want that one back again. Yeah? So welcome to Dukkha. Okay. Sariputta understood, because he saw these aspects, there is an escape. There's an escape beyond this. And with the cultivation of this attainment that he confirmed that there is. Okay, so basically, we see that this is still an unsatisfactory state because it has these qualities to it. So there must be something that we need to move on to. Yeah? Again, with the stilling of thinking and examining thought, Sariputta entered on and abided in the second jhana. So that activity of the mind, that verbalization in the mind, drops away. So in the first jhana, the hindrances have dropped away. As we go into the second jhana, the verbalization of the mind drops away. And this is the meaning of noble silence. So we have the signs up outside inviting you to have noble silence. But that's an act of will. As we move into second jhana, that noble silence will be a characteristic of the mind. Sariputta then entered and abided in the second jhana, which has self-confidence and singleness of mind, without thinking and examining thought, with rapture and pleasure, or joy and happiness, born of concentration. So the first jhana was born of seclusion, but the second jhana is born from concentration, which we call collectedness, so that you move away from the idea of a very focused concentration. That's what we're used to in our daily life as the meaning of concentration. Here, when you have this focused concentration, okay, it's very different. Just put your thumb up. Okay. Now I want you to look at your thumbnail. And I want you to pretend that your eyes are lasers. And I want you to try and bore a hole through that thumbnail with your eyes. And what has happened to your body, your mind, your breath, and the awareness of things around you. Your body is tight, the mind is tight. Did you have any peripheral awareness? No, and you held your breath. This is focused concentration. But if we want to see the context of our experience, then we can't want this concentration. So now come back and look at your thumb. Look at the thumbnail. But this time, relax your mind. Smile. Be in your energetic center and relax your body. Now you know you're looking at the thumbnail, but look at your peripheral vision that's awake. How does your mind feel? How does your body feel? How is your breath? Can you feel the difference? So in your practice, what type of samadhi, what type of collectedness do you need? So it's natural in our practice at some stages to want to go into this concentration. Maybe we see something that's interesting or different we've not seen before. And the temptation is to, and when you feel that temptation, smile, relax the tension around your brain. Okay? Do the 6 hours and come back. Yes. There are different types of concentration. Yeah? But ask yourself, which type of concentration do you want when you're driving? Yeah. Which one do you want when you're listening to a lecture or Well, when do you learn best? Is it when you're trying to learn or when you're relaxed and listening? Okay. It's not that you didn't know your thumbnail. You still knew you were looking at the thumbnail, but you were relaxed and open. Yeah. So there are times when you need the mind to be collapsed and super focused, but it's much less often than we think. Yes.
All said we can see the fish. But when this asked Arjuna, that I can just see the eye of the fish, where he has to pull that arrow. So what he was doing was focused. He was probably he was not. Other brothers were glad, so they were not able to get their arrow to the eye of the fish.
Okay. So the difference here is intention. Arjuna's intention was clear. But if you've ever read about the art of archery in Zen, the hardest thing to teach the archer is to relax. It's to know that you're looking at the thumbnail, but not to be looking at the thumbnail. Yeah. So we move into the second jhana, born of this collectedness, right? Which is a natural product of having been in the first jhana. It encourages this state of mind. And the states of the second jhana, the self-confidence, the joy, the happiness, the unification of mind, the contact, feeling, perception, volition, and mind, the zeal, the decision, the energy, the mindfulness, the equanimity, and attention. These states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. So these are the same as in the first jhana. It's just that we no longer have that thinking and examining thought. Okay? So they start to get cultivated. Known to him, these states arose. Known they were present. Known they disappeared. He understood thus. To go back. So indeed, these states, having been, not having been, come into being. Having been, they vanish. Regarding those states, he abided unattracted, unrepelled, independent, detached, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. He understood there is an escape beyond, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there is. So because all of these states still are impermanent, still are not under our control, still have the potential for dukkha, there must be something that we need to move beyond this. No, the thinking and examining thought, it's the verbalization of the process. It's not an abandonment of investigating the states. But the investigation of states becomes an observation rather than an analysis. Yeah.
Observational thoughts will remain in the higher jhanas also. Like I am calm, this is going well, or something like that. Observational thought may come. You need not siksar that. They will just come and go. But if you put more attention to the observational thoughts, then it can go into a distraction.
Again, students, with the fading away as well of rapture. So this is the joy. Sariputta abided in equanimity and mindful and fully aware, still feeling pleasure with the body. He entered upon and abided in the third jhana, on account of which the noble ones announce he has a pleasant abiding. Those who have equanimity and are mindful. So when we move into the third jhana, a sense of joy begins to disappear. And it's not unusual for students to come and go, my meditation's gone off the boil. I've lost the feeling of joy. But this is just a progression. It doesn't mean that your meditation has somehow just become not what it was. It's actually developed into something else. And this is why we must be careful not to have the attributes of the jhana as our objects of meditation, because they're going to change. So all the way so far, we've moved through these states with the feeling of loving kindness. Okay? So we allow the states of jhana to come, to persist, and to disappear. And that's why when some of you have come into interview and you've been describing what you've been doing, and then we've said, well, you've taken this aspect as your object. Try not to do that and come back to the feeling of loving kindness. Otherwise, you'll hold on to this and your practice won't progress. Or it will disappear and then you'll be completely dissatisfied because you've identified with it as a sign of progress. But only if it stays. And the sign of progress is it disappears. Okay? And the states of the third jhana, the equanimity, the pleasure, the mindfulness, the full awareness. So now we're developing another quality of the mind, this full awareness. And the unification of mind, the contact, the feeling, the perception, the intention, the mind, the zeal, the decision, the energy, the mindfulness, the equanimity and attention. So these are the same qualities that were present in the earlier jhanas. These states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. Known to him those states arose, known to him they were present, known they disappeared. He understood thus. So indeed, these states, not having been, come into being. Having been, they vanish. Regarding those states, he abided, unattracted, unrepelled, independent, detached, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. He understood there is an escape beyond, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there is. So even though these states can be really, very, very engaging, and we begin to see that the mind is developing, and we take a lot of interest in this, we still remain as the observer. And this is so important to recognize. These are simply signposts on the journey that you're taking. If you hold on to a signpost, what happens to your journey? You don't go any further. Okay? And then, as part of this, there's pleasure with the body. So in third jhana, you will sit comfortably. Don't worry if you don't believe me. Okay? There will be comfort in the body, not because you found your ideal position, but because you have found your ideal mind. Again, students, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain. Okay, so even pleasant feeling now is let go of. We don't have so much difficulty letting go of pain, although I've had one or two students who were very attached to their pain. So don't be surprised if you miss your pain as well. With the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, Sariputta entered upon and abided in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and has purity of mindfulness due to equanimity now. So the first jhana was due to seclusion. We dropped away from the hindrances. The second one was born of collectedness, the aspect of mind. The third was born of full awareness. And the fourth is born of equanimity. And this equanimity is not the equanimity of the Brahmaviharas. This is the equanimity around states of mind and feeling in the body. So we're still using loving kindness at this time. And loving kindness has the capacity to take us to the fourth jhana. No further than the fourth jhana. But it will take us to the fourth jhana.
Loving kindness is still present.
Yes. And the states of the fourth jhana, the equanimity, the neither painful nor pleasant feeling, the mental unconcern due to tranquility. So things that used to bother you, they're still there. And there's often a question in the mind going, I ought to react to this, but I'm not. So there's a memory of that this was something perhaps that irritated you, but you don't find the energy in the mind of irritation. The purity of mindfulness, the unification of mind, this gathered mind. The contact, the feeling, the perception, the volition, the mind, the zeal, decision, energy, mindfulness, equanimity, and attention. So intention and attention are still central to this process. These states were defined by him one by one as they occurred, known to him. Those states arose, known they were present, known they disappeared. He understood thus. So indeed, these states not having been, come into being. Having been, they vanish. Regarding those states, he abided unattracted, unrepelled, independent, detached, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. He understood there is an escape beyond, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there is. Again, because with the complete surmounting of the perceptions of form, with the disappearance of perception of sensory impact, with non-attention to the perception of diversity, aware that space is infinite, Sariputta entered upon and abided in the base of infinite space. So here we may find that the body has completely disappeared, or aspects of the body has disappeared. And that's because we've reduced tension so much in the body that the brain, which uses tension to map where the body is, can't find the body. It's not that your body has actually disappeared, but as far as your perception of it is, it has. Now at this stage, with infinite space, here the feeling will be up in the head, the loving kindness, because the body's disappeared. So when the feeling goes up into the head, you'll be given other instructions about what to do.
Reference to diversity.
The diversity there are, the aspects of the senses which basically take us away from our object of attention. So we're now much more unified in our awareness. We're much more present with the object of our attention. Okay. So here, with the infinity of space, the feeling of the loving kindness begins to change. And this is why it's very important not to hold on, not only to the attributes of the jhanas, but to the attributes of the Brahma Viharas. So we have loving kindness, we have compassion, we have sympathetic joy, and we have equanimity. And just like we progressively move through the jhanas, we will progressively move through the Brahma Viharas. So if you have a mental construct of what loving kindness feels like, you will be holding on to the signpost again. And this is why it's important to cultivate the capacity to observe, to see things as they change, rather than hold on to them.
That is, with each jhana that is independent, detached. So those things which the Buddha is saying is a indication of that you become an observer, not the doer. You are not the doer, but you are the observer. He is independent, he is detached. So whatever is happening, he is just observing. Having seen these things arose, and having seen this has gone. So he has not brought these things up or not have made it go away. But he was aware that these things came up and these things went away. So aware those things arose, aware they stayed, and aware they went away. So that is what it means. It means both. It means impermanence, and it also means that impersonality of this. And what is kind of underlying is the observer thing, which is very important.
You said body disappear. Do you also including head in that?
Certain aspects of the head. You'll be aware that the presentation of the Brahmaviharas is in this area, but you won't necessarily be feeling all aspects of your head. But you will still retain contact, because as we go through, one of the aspects of the jhanas is contact. And contact is where the earth element is. So if a fly lands on you, you will feel that. But when the fly jumps off again, that part of the body will disappear again, because there's no contact. Okay? So this can be quite an intriguing state, but you've got to be careful just to observe it and not be entertained by it. Yes?
Volition is still there, no? When we are reading the list of things which are there, volition is there, zeal is there, decision making is there. But those decisions have to be wholesome. Then it will take you to the wholesome direction. If it is unwholesome, then it will take you to unwholesome. But the decision is there, the zeal and all those things which are there are still available in the Arupa Jhanas also, you can say.
So, and what I find very useful is this sense of what's being described as contact, and the way we can, excuse me, the way we can think of that is we still remain grounded. We're not, we're still connected. We're still in response to what's going on. This association here is not disassociated from the world. It's that we're not associating with the things that we see. We're not identifying with them. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Talk about non-attachment a lot. I feel like for me personally, that emotional experience that I experience in my day-to-day life is very precious to me. And to become an observer feels like I'm telling myself that not to identify with my experiences. And in a way, it's going to take away that pleasurable experience. For example, if I'm feeling happy and I wish to tell somebody, share that happy moment with somebody, but again, according to this, if I tell myself not to feel too attached or experience it firsthand with the I, so now I am feeling happy.
Okay, I think you raise a very good point here. The I-ness is the belief that I own the happiness. You don't own it. It has arisen because of circumstances. It will be there for a period and you will experience it and you will have that experience. But then the situation or the context will change and the happiness will disappear. Are you going to be bereft because you thought you owned it and therefore it's been stolen from you? Or will you just accept that it's arisen, I was happy when it was here, and now it's disappeared? Okay? And there's nothing in the Buddha's teaching which doesn't mean you lose connection with the way things are, or with the interaction with people. Okay? Do you mind if we just do some pair work?
Yeah, but before that, I'll just tell one other way the Buddha is talking about is the gratification, the danger, and the escape. He talks about a lot in the suttas about the gratification and the danger and the escape. The gratification is the pleasure you attain from any activity or any possession or any kind of emotion. That is the gratification. What is the danger? The danger is that everything is impermanent. So when it goes, then that time it brings pain. And what is the escape? Escape is knowing the reality, the siksar, knowing the impersonality of it. It is the Eightfold Path. We will be taking the study of the Eightfold Path also later on. So it's the Eightfold Path which the Buddha is teaching about the reality of the situation. So when you are, Buddha does not say that there is no pleasure. He said if there is no pleasure, then how can you measure dukkha? You know, if there is sukha, that is the way we can measure dukkha. So if there is black, only then the white becomes visible, you know. Or if there is white, only then the black will become visible. So there is pleasure, but ownership of the pleasure will give you the next stage, which is the danger which is there, because you cannot own, because it is not yours. You can still be happy, like in a metta. You can still be having the metta, you can still have happiness, you can still share this happiness with others, and still be aware that this is not something which I have generated, or this is not my metta. It is just metta. And I am just sharing, and for that sharing, there is a lot of merit also. So if it is not that it is an empty thing, or it is a thing which is of no consequence. And as I had given stories and everything, there can be real life examples also of that coming back to us, and we realizing that reality of that. But the taking of ownership is of something which is not owned by you. Say if somebody, there is a lot of videos you will find about somebody trying to kind of take a picture with a car, okay, expensive car, and then the owner comes. And then you have to scramble away that person. So that is what is there, that because we don't have ownership of it, even if we had possession of it for some time, we have to give up that position. So that is the impermanence which you have to say. So we are just seeing this in the context. That does not mean that you have to give up this as happiness, because this as happiness is real actually. The dukkha is also real, but the happiness is also real. But till the time it is there, you are seeing it in the correct context. When you see this in the correct context, then ownership is, even there is no ownership, there can be a pleasure. Like you go to a vacation, you are in a hotel room, you enjoy that hotel room, but you know that I don't own this hotel room, I will go after 2 days. That time there is certain kind of displeasure is there while check out, but still that is not comparable to, say, if you had purchased a flat and then somebody came and said, no, this was owned by somebody else, and you are kicked out of that flat. No, so that is the difference. So you just put them into context, so that makes it easier for you to handle the reality of all the emotion which is coming and going.
I think
So, why can it not be that I can just practice the non-attachment when there's pain and experience pleasure?
oh, well, that's very simple, because if you're not detached with the pleasure, when it disappears, it's very painful. Okay. Now, detachment doesn't mean you don't experience it. Detachment doesn't mean you've thrown it away. If you remember on the first day when we did some pair work together, okay, and I invited you to think of something which was difficult in your mind, okay? And then when I pushed you back, you felt really quite vulnerable, okay? But then when we worked with the center and relaxing the mind and coming back into what was actually this collected awareness, this collected concentration, how did it feel? Protected. So if it felt protected with something that was a negative experience, how good will it feel when it feels protected when it's a positive thing? Yeah? You can still feel it. I still represented what was the problem. The problem hadn't gone away. The pleasure hasn't gone away. But you've now got a different relationship to it. The pleasure isn't in the holding on. The fear is in the holding on.
Does it not condense the entire spectrum of emotions that I'm allowing myself to feel?
No. No, this whole spectrum of emotion is there. But what it does is it condenses the spectrum of reaction. Yeah. Mm. I suspect the reason you don't enjoy it quite so much is because you're no longer listening to it. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
An extension when we are trying to establish that non-attached state or detachment. Considering that we are in this materialistic world born as humans, first we have a lot of relationships, we are attached to everything around us. Then how does it feel like being in that detached state, considering that, let's say someone hurt us or whatever, we've lost something or whatever it is. Is it just like whatever I've been hearing so far is that just because you know that you own nothing and this is all impermanent, hence you won't feel that pain?
No, that is not that you would not feel that pain, because that pain is connected to a lot of your history and memory. Okay, so you will feel that pain, but we are learning how to see them in the better context. So that pain also, when you are seeing in that context of impermanence, of impersonality, okay, and of a dukkha, then you know that how to kind of deal with that pain. That pain is real, and that pain has a lot of history also in it. Okay, so say somebody in the crowded street, somebody is going, somebody pushes somebody, and that person does not even look back and just goes, and somebody else get pushed, and then he starts fighting. The same thing has happened, but there are two different reactions. Why is this two different reaction? Because there is a lot of history between that. So what is told about the contact is there, then there is feeling, there is a perception is there is a whole process by which this happens. So we'll go deeper into this process. That is a dependent origination teachings we'll go into. That we'll know how the mind is functioning, how those hurt arise, and how we deal with it, and how we are able to know them in context. When we are knowing them in context, it is not saying wishful thinking that don't be attached. So if that is don't be attached, that is the end of the story. No? So I told somebody today that there is a philosopher who says that if you think you are thinking, then stop thinking. So if you think you are kind of thinking all those thoughts, then you will be able to stop thinking. No, so but that is not the case. So that is not the solution for that. That is the statement of reality. But solution is what we are giving now, is to understand how the mind's movement is working from one thing to another. Then we are giving you a safe place to be with the metta. And when it is going to a distraction, we are giving a safe way of coming back. We say recognize, release, relax, return back. The understanding is in this journey from your object of meditation to the distraction, and from the distraction again to the object of meditation. In this space, the learning is there. Yes.
So mentioned about if you go with the mental construct of what loving kindness looks like, then you cannot go ahead with it. What is that exactly? I could not.
Just repeat that again, please.
You mentioned a sentence where you said that if you go with what a mental construct of loving kindness looks like, then you are holding on to a sank. You hold on to it, and you're not moving.
Okay. What I was saying there is, if we have a fixed image of the loving kindness, perhaps we've experienced it in one way and we've enjoyed that. So we want to keep feeling that. But the loving kindness is going to gradually change and evolve in different ways. If we hold on to one experience of it, we won't allow it to change. Or if it does change, we'll feel our meditation is now wrong. But if we take the observing view, that change is what we're there to witness and see, then as it changes, we'll accept that. And just to pick up on your last point about the emotion, when we don't work with the awareness that you're cultivating, when something happens, then it reverberates. And I don't know about you, but certainly in my past, that could be 2 or 3 days. But when you begin to work with the sense of detachment, then you get the first bit, but then it goes. It's not that you don't get this bit, but it doesn't jump. Yeah? Yes.
What is the proper wording around all the descriptions about what we might be alters the way we're relating? Wording is expansion.
Prapancha.
Expansion of the heart. Yes.
The process that we're going through is one of complexity towards simplicity. And the complexity is what we bring to everything in our daily lives. All our history, all our reactions, all our beliefs, all our habitual tendencies, all the things we've learned from the people around us, all of that stuff. that gets in the way of seeing things as they really are. We have these multiple filters in front of our eyes. And the process is to take these off, so that we simply see things as they occur this time. And when that happens, what expands is our choice of our reaction, because it becomes a response instead. Because whilst we've got all of this stuff in, it defines our reaction, because that's what we've done in the past. We no longer have any choices, we just follow the reaction. Someone lit the blue touch paper and we went back.
Yes.
In context to what we both practice, and this one is reading and so that I know, like even if you tell me if it's right, I once read that you should not be attached, you should be connected. For example, a socket is attached to a wall, a charger is connected. So attachment holds you down, and connection you can be connected wherever you are. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's a nice a comparison between these. The thing about attachment is it feels secure. Unfortunately, you're holding on to something that's sinking.
But our choices are not between attachment and connection. The choice is between attachment and detachment.
Yes.
So there is a other option also. So it is a way of kind of enhancing our understanding by which we will reach there, not by just a statement. It is not a statement of encouragement to just give up, just don't be attached. That is not the statement. That is not the practice. The practice is of understanding. To enhance our understanding, this process is there. As we understand, we know more. As we know more, we understand more, and then we can practice more. And this is a virtuous cycle. So this is a start of the understanding process. Yes.
A very different relationship with the attachment. I think I've practiced that in what I saw all the questions. I'm very good with the detachment thing. It's just what troubles me is people around me would not take it. Like I can love a thing and I can be okay, fine, it's not there. With people, with things, or whatever. I have a very good relationship with detachment. I can be with you for 24 hours and when I'm gone, I'm gone. But when I see people around me suffer, that troubles me. So how to?
So detach from that also. So it is say that is what we are good at certain things and we are not good at certain things. But what we are universally not able to understand are the fundamental functions of the mind. That is what the Buddha is an expert in. And that is how by doing this practice, you will know your own mind. So it is not that we can help you we can just give you instructions. But by doing the practice, you can know your own mind. And by knowing your own mind, you will help yourself.
Because I think what you're identifying there is a mistaken perception. And that is that the quality that we bring when we're attached is only measured by the distress we feel when we're no longer attached. And that's not true. That distress comes because of the attachment, not because of the quality we brought at the time we were with someone. We can have the quality when we're there, but the quality isn't measured by how much we're distressed when we're not there. Is that okay? Yeah? All right.
So what I understand is the process when first we choose that and then we decide whether we want to feel attached to it or not.
We're not in the process of making a decision whether to be attached or not. We're working in the direction of releasing from attachment.
So let's say I experience happiness. So what do I tell myself? Or what do I do next?
Well, there are many different forms of happiness. There is happiness born of attachment, but there's also happiness born of detachment. Yeah? And the problem with the happiness born of attachment is when the situation changes, it brings distress. Whereas the happiness born from detachment doesn't.
I like how you explain the jhanas, progression of jhanas of giving up.
So this is a process of detaching from various aspects of the mind. Yeah? So in order to get into the first jhana, we have to drop away from attachment and aversion to sensory experience. And when we do that, we experience the joy of the first jhana and the happiness of the first jhana. Yeah. And then what drops away is the thinking and investigating thought. And then what drops away from then is the sense of joy, the piti. And then what drops away is the sense of
Happiness
and pleasure. And what's left is a quality of equanimity, which is very different to any sense of equanimity that we felt. So the whole process is a process of detaching. But it's a process of expansion, not a process of becoming more limited. And I think that's what we fear, is that if we let these things drop away, our life is going to become very, very limited and grey and have nothing of interest in it. Yes.
Just to add to that, sense of open to be encouraged that everything is always changing. The possibility for us of balance when it's done, and that when you feel emotional connection, and that the fear of changing circumstances around that, possibility that balance enables us not to stress, that some continuation of the connection that you desire, it doesn't mean that there's a physical remaining. And that's very hopeful.
Otherwise, we're faced with, as you said, we're constantly having to find a new record to listen to. Yeah. Do you wish to constantly be chasing that in order to refine the happiness? You know, refine that, and then you can't hold on to it, because even though you found the perfect record, it doesn't stay the perfect record.
If the record does not change, you change. You know, in that period.
Okay. So I think we got stuck in fourth jhana there. Okay, so at this stage of the infinite space, your practice will have subtly changed, and you'll be with compassion. And there's a subtly different experience. And we won't describe that to it, you will describe that to us. And then you'll know it's your experience. This is why it's quite helpful not to read too much about this process. Otherwise, you have the concept of what compassion will be like, and you'll look for it in your practice. And that will take you away from it. Because you're no longer the observer of what's going on, but you're trying to control and create it. Yeah. And again, students, by completely surmounting the base of infinite space, aware that consciousness is infinite, Sariputta entered upon and abided in the base of infinite consciousness. And the states in the base of infinite consciousness, the perception of the base of infinite consciousness, and the unification of mind. So you do perceive this state. You do know you're there. It has a quality that the mind can perceive. The unification of mind, this collectiveness, this gathering of the mind in its awareness. The contact, though we're still grounded. The feeling, the perception, the intention, the volition, and mind, the zeal, the decision, the energy, the mindfulness, the equanimity, and attention. These states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. Known to him, those states arose. Known they were present. Known they disappeared. He understood thus. So indeed, these states, not having been, come into being. Having been, they vanish. So even these refined states of mind are just as impermanent as anything else. Regarding those states, he abided unattracted, unrepelled, independent, detached, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. He understood there is an escape beyond this. And with that cultivation, with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there is. So the way your meditation that you observe is felt, the felt experience of it changes. Thinking about it won't help, but simply observing it, you'll know it for yourself. And again, students, by completely surmounting the base of infinite consciousness, aware there is nothing, Sariputta entered upon and abided in the base of nothingness. Now, there'll become a time when your meditation is simply knowing there's nothing. And then you'll see what your mind does with that. It takes a little time for the mind to be happy that there's nothing to be seen. And this transition between infinite consciousness and nothingness, with the refinement of your consciousness, you begin to see the components of experience, the components of consciousness. You begin to see how the granular nature of the experience in the mind. And as that develops in infinite consciousness, you begin to see the gaps between those moments of consciousness. And as those gaps expand, there's the nothingness. and the mind moves into the awareness of the nothingness. But you can only do this if you observe, not control. Because if you control, that's not nothing. And the states in the base of nothingness, the perception of the base of nothingness, and the unification of mind, the contact, the feeling, the perception, the intention, the mind, the zeal, the decision, the energy, the mindfulness, the equanimity, and attention. These states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. So we still have that quality of mind that's been carrying through all the way through the jhanas. Known to him, those states arose. Known they were present, known they disappeared. He understood thus. So indeed, these states not having been, come into being. Having been, they vanish. Regarding those states, he abided unattracted, unrepelled, independent, detached, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. He understood there is an escape beyond, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there is. So in this place of nothingness, you will see something arise. But you'll also see that you didn't have any control over that. You'll also see that unless you observe it, you engage with it, it will develop into something. So you understand how these things arise, how they persist. And then when you fix on, they disappear. So then you get a very refined awareness of what the origin of these things are, what causes them to stay, what is the cause of their disappearance. And at this stage, the observation needs to be very finely balanced. A little bit too much energy and the mind will be restless, and you'll be out of that experience into the mind that we're familiar with. Too little energy and the mind will dull out a little. The sloth and torpor will be there. And so we need to gently balance it. And there's a lovely sutta that the Buddha is talking to someone who's too ardent in their practice. And this person, was so ardent that they were doing their walking meditation, and the Buddha came to where they were walking, and he could see the blood on the ground, walking up and down, up and down, up and down. And he used to be a musician in one of the courts. And he said, I think you used to play the lute, didn't you? He said, yes. He said, well,
Like a sitar, they will understand.
a sitar, yeah. What happens if the strings are too tight? What's the sound like? What happens if the strings are too loose? What does it sound like? So how do you adjust so that the sound is just, he says you just need that sweet spot. Well, when you're in the sphere of nothingness, you will be finding the sweet spot for your practice. And the states in the base of nothingness, all of these things that we are familiar with, the awareness of the state of nothing, the base of nothingness, the unification of mind, the contact, feeling, perception, the intention of mind, the zeal, the decision, the energy, the mindfulness, the equanimity and attention. These states were defined by him one by one as they occurred. Known to him, those states arose. Known they were present. Known they disappeared. And so he remained detached, remained the observer. Again, because by completely surmounting the base of nothingness, Sariputta entered upon and abided in the base of neither perception nor non-perception. The state of neither perception nor non-perception is very different. At the base of nothingness, we had perception. We knew we were there. But in the state of neither perception or non-perception, all these characteristics of the other jhanas now disappears. We don't know whether we're really there or not. We're not quite sure. And so there's a sense of uncertainty. Am I really meditating or am I not? And we have to allow ourselves to get used to that. Because we're moving from the signed experience, nimitta, where there are clear signs that we can perceive, towards the signless, where there are not clear signs to be perceived. And neither perception nor non-perception is the doorway through to this. Nibbana is a signless state. And so we're having to give up this, renounce, if you like, the signed. And all of our experience up to that point has been the signed. So it's not surprising that the mind is kind of going, is this or is this not? Am I or am I not? And that's okay. Is there anything you'd like to add about? Is there anything you'd like to add about that one?
No. It is better to add less to this.
Okay. So, again, students, by completely surmounting the base of nothingness, Sariputta entered upon and abided in the base of neither perception nor non-perception. He emerged mindful from that attainment. So notice there's none of that description that there was present at the other jhanas. Having done so, he contemplated the states that had passed, ceased, and changed thus. So indeed, these states, not having been, come into being, having been, they vanish. So it's not something that you can observe when you're in the state, because that would be perception. It's only when you come out of neither perception or non-perception, as a reflection, you now understand the quality of that state. Regarding those states, he abided unattracted, unrepelled, independent, detached, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. He understood there is an escape, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there is. But that's a reflective understanding rather than a direct observation, because there was no perception to directly observe.
Yes, I just wanted to add, if anybody is there in this state, then Bhante would ask that before breaking your sitting, look back and reflect on the 5 minutes what has happened in the meditation. And if you, on reflection also, if you find something you notice, there you succeed. Okay?
Again, students, by completely surmounting the base of neither perception nor non-perception, Sariputta entered upon and abided in the cessation of perception and feeling. And his taints were destroyed by his seeing with wisdom. So, with the cessation of perception and feeling, there is also the cessation of consciousness. because perception, feeling, and consciousness are concomitant. They can't arise without the others being present. And with the cessation of these, the mind moves into a completely different state. And it's only with the coming out of that state that you understand the transition that has now occurred. He emerged mindful from that attainment. Having done so, he recalled the states that had passed, ceased, and changed thus. So obviously, if perception, feeling, and consciousness are not present, you don't know whilst you're in this state. But you do know when you've come out that there has been something. So indeed, these states not having been come into being, having been, they vanish. Regarding those states, he abided unattached, unrepelled, independent, detached, free, dissociated with a mind rid of barriers. He understood there is no escape beyond, and with the cultivation of that attainment, he confirmed that there is not. Bhikkhus or students, rightly speaking, were it to be said of anyone, he has attained mastery and perfection in the noble virtue, attained mastery and perfection in noble concentration, attained mastery and perfection in noble wisdom, attained mastery and perfection in noble deliverance. It is of Sariputta indeed that rightly speaking, this should be said. Students, rightly speaking, were it to be said of anyone, he is the son of the Blessed One, born of his breast, born of his mouth, born of the Dhamma, created by the Dhamma, an heir in the Dhamma, not an heir in material things. It is of Sariputta indeed that rightly speaking, this should be said. Students, the matchless wheel of the Dhamma set rolling by the Tathagata is kept rolling rightly by Sariputta. That is what the Blessed One said. The students were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words.
So there is the important is that there is no escape beyond that. That is that the cessation, the Nibbana is the culmination. And then there is one other sutta where we will be taking that sutta. The person is asking what is the kind of the correspondence of Nibbana also. And they says that is you are going beyond that level of questioning. So that is the most important thing which is there. So we have we were kind of discussing with somebody about the world of concepts and going beyond the world of concepts. So now the state of Nibbana is the world which is beyond concepts. That is the reason there is by words we cannot explain, only we can experience that individually.
And that's why the emphasis in TWIM is on the felt experience. Because the felt experience is what you do to verify the teaching. It's not your intellectual understanding of what is said, but you're actually touching the truth. So when we did the first day, when we did the work with the energetic body, with the yoga, if I had described the energetic body to you, you might have been intrigued. You may have even been interested. But would you have remembered? But when you experience the energetic body, are you going to forget that? Because it's a direct experience. And that's what we hope for you in the TWIM retreat, that you will experience much of what is described here.
And it is possible. It may seem impossible now, after a day or two, and maybe there are ideas which you have, but as you continue, you will find that if you persist with it, then the next thing will develop on its own. Buddha gives encouragement in many ways. One is by explaining the 7 factors of awakening. When the Buddha says that you have to have mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Described as remembering to observe how your mind's attention is moving from one thing to another. Okay? So you remember to observe. That is the memory part in that mindfulness. How your mind attention is going from one thing to another. So when you recognize that from your object of meditation, it has gone to the distraction, then you release, relax, re-smile, return back. That by doing the mindfulness, what you are doing is you are investigation, your mind states. Is it there on the wholesome object? It is there on the unwholesome object. That is investigation. With this investigation, the energy you can balance. So if you are restless, you relax more. If you are sleepy, then you put in more energy into that. When you are balancing that energy, what will happen? The joy will arise automatically. When the joy is there, your body is tranquil. When your body is tranquil, then the samadhi or the ability to be on the object, the collectedness will come. Because if you are very calm and collected, and then you are looking at something, then you can continue looking at that. When that is there, the equanimity will come to the mind. So sometimes when you go through the teaching, you may find it, oh, this is very 7 factors of awakening. How can I develop these 7 things? I am struggling to develop one. But if you develop one, the next is the consequence of that. If that is developed, the next is consequence. It happens. So the Buddha is giving encouragement in many ways in that way. So just continue with your practice and things will happen.
So just like we were saying in the yoga, where you cultivate the environment for the yoga to happen, you cultivate the environment for these things to unfold. The jhanas unfold, the factors of enlightenment unfold. The movement through the Brahma Viharas unfolds. So when you come up into the realm of infinite consciousness, this is when you'll feel some joy, because this is mudita. So the compassion will have moved into mudita. When you're into nothingness, there will be the equanimity, Rebecca. Just unfolds if you look after the condition.
That is the example I had given about the potted plant, you put the seed, then you give the food to it. And the plant grows on its own. You don't grow the plant. You give it the food required. So that is the same thing. We are not developing those mind states. We are not creating that mind states. We are giving it a right environment to appear.
I hesitate at this point. Any questions?
Yes.
Can you explain the difference between the feeling of metta and sympathetic joy?
Refinement. Yeah, metta will feel quite coarse compared to sympathetic joy. It's quite a subtle state.
Sympathetic joy is more.
No, not more energy.
It's more, as it says, more refined. So it will have less vibrations,
Yeah.
if you consider. It will have less energy, but it has more kind of power. Okay, so in that state, your mind is more a kind of in a developed state of mind. That's the reason you can see certain things which you cannot see when you are in metta. Compassion is also one stage, and the sympathetic joy is one stage. So you kind of develop your understanding, and with that there comes a development of the other states also, like when you are seeing the infiniteness of space. Okay, so or you are seeing infinite of consciousness. So those are the understanding also which is growing in that stage.
It has more depth to it, but less brightness. Very hard to put into words.
But it has its own purpose, in the path. But one thing I just wanted to tell you, just as a way of encouragement. Once somebody came and asked Sariputta about how one can reach Nibbana. Sariputta said, if you are in first jhana and understand the impermanence. When he says impermanence, it also means the dukkha, because impermanence and dukkha is linked. Impermanence and impersonality is also linked. Anatta is also linked. Because if there is we say something is a soul, we cannot say it is impermanent. No? So the impermanence is also the linked to the impermanent. So now, if you understand that, then you can reach till Nibbana by just staying in the first jhana. Then he says the same thing of the second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, arupa jhana first, arupa jhana second, arupa jhana third, arupa jhana fourth. So it means that it is your understanding which is more important than going higher and higher in the jhana state. So don't worry if you even say that I am not going higher in jhanas. Just by understanding, developing your understanding, you will you can reach the state of more and more release from the suffering. So this is just a encouragement, but it is rare that not I think 90% of you will reach, you will see all of them. Okay, it is very rare that they don't reach the fourth jhana. So just continue with their practice, and still whatever your practices, if it is your busy mind is there, if there is dullness is there, everything you can learn from it, because everything is a reason for developing your wisdom. So it does not matter if it is a busy mind, it does not matter if it is dull, it does not matter that you are not able to sit longer. Everything has a way of giving you some information about your mind, and that is what we are here for, not for experiences. Experiences, Bhante used to say that okay, you had those experiences, because there is a wonderful experience also. Many of you will experience wonderful experiences, but experiences are like byproducts. Like in Indian philosophy, there is a manthan which is happened, Sagar Manthan. Then when the Sagar Manthan is happening, there is a lot of things are coming out. So what happens is that the asuras which are there, they go for those things which are coming up, the beautiful things which are coming up. Diamonds are coming up. Gold is coming up. So they are running after them, and the devas are waiting patiently for the Amrit. So that is how this is. So when in the practice, when all these beautiful experiences come in, just be aware. You can be, this is the joy which has no danger. The joy of first jhana, the joy of second jhana, the tranquility which you feel in the third jhana, in equanimity. Those joys have no danger in it. You can enjoy that, but don't enjoy it so much that your journey is stopped. So that is the thing. So continue with your practice. You are all doing very well. You may feel in your own assessment that, oh, I have not done well, but in our assessment as guides over here, we feel that you have all done very well. Okay, so continue.
It's not unusual to be disappointed at seeing your mind. Just be disappointed that you weren't disappointed before. Because that's the building block. It's to recognize. The Buddha said that there are two responses to dukkha. Either distraction, looking for something else to entertain you, to take you away from the feeling of dukkha, or curiosity. Why does this arise? What is the way out? And you're here because you've taken the second choice. So you already understand dukkha. And you've seen it in your mind in the last 2 days. That's fine, that's good. If you'd all reached a state of bliss and happiness now, you'd have actually taken the first choice, the distracting away from dukkha, not the second choice of understanding.
That's the reason a lot of things are there in this world. You know, sports are there, theater is there, movies is there, Netflix is there, then all the TV programs are there. All are what are there? They are all distractions. Then all this vacation and all this malls and all this kind of pursuit of all these things are there, cars and motorcycles and this and that. All what are there about? All are about distractions. Okay, there's a lot of things which is distractions. So over here, all those distractions, you know how they are coming in your mind states also. Just it's a way of learning from those mind states and developing your wisdom. See, technically we say 4 jhanas. Then of the 4 jhanas, there are 4 sub jhanas. There are 4 jhanas which are called rupa jhanas. Then there are sub jhanas of that 4th jhana, which is arupa jhana. That are 4 arupa jhanas. And certain places, certain kind of philosophies take the last thing which they just mentioned, the cessation, also as a jhana, which is not technically said anywhere. That cessation is mentioned as cessation and explained as cessation. But certain classical, our Theravada thinking would be that there are 4 rupa jhanas and 4 arupa jhanas.
Rupa jhana means material, solidity. They're based on the material world. Arupa jhanas are based on mentality. So the body has disappeared at this point. Reference to materiality has disappeared.
Rupa is form, so this is form. Arupa means without form.
Yeah. Yes, but there is contact. There is contact. So like I say, if a fly lands on you, you'll know. If Bhante comes up to you and places his finger on your shoulder because he wants to say something to you, you'll be aware of that. But until he does, you won't.
And there are mental contacts also. So there are contacts in both ways.
Yeah.
So like you realize what is happening. So all those are based on your mental context. So those are there. Then that will go in detail later. How the mind's functioning is there, dependent origination.
Contact is essential for your understanding. Yeah? But it will be mental contact in the Arupa jhanas.
27.
Okay.
The questions? Any? Okay, one more. Okay, last. Okay.
So since you mentioned not to think a lot about it, because we have a concept in our head and we look for it in our practice, you recommend that we just do it ourselves and with like under subordination.
On this retreat, you should not read, but after the retreat, you can read. And in this retreat, we have given you some instructions that you can read. Those because it will take the mind some time to kind of get used to the instructions. So today, I noted that most of them I had to kind of re-emphasize the 6 hours. Huh? So I had to kind of mention the 6 hours. So that is a normal thing. So just read that multiple times before starting your session. Just it will take 15 seconds. Just and that is the mind. It is just not you or this thing. It's just a function of the mind. So it's okay.
But it's better to have a group that we identify those jhanas for me instead of me identifying it.
No, that is not the case, but it is the case that when we are there, it is a smoother process. Huh? So that is the only reason. But it does not mean that on your own it cannot be done. It can be done on your own also. And when you are there, all this sutta we are reading, that sutta if you want to read on your own, these are all available on internet also. So that's the reason we give you the numbers and everything. Today is 111, Majjhima Nikāya 111, MN 111. Yesterday, MN19 I have taken. So that if you want to read on your own, then you can. And we are having forums and we have a Google group. So if you want to ask questions, that can be asked also.
There is something really delightful about practicing without knowing or having information about what is next in terms of your experience. And then experiencing something and then recognizing or being explained to you that that is the next. When we look for the next, we then have to overcome our looking to get back to just experiencing. So it's really a question of how you feel. But I certainly know in my experience, it's been a very positive thing not to know what's coming next. And as we'll explain in the coming days, this process of understanding is repeated a number of different times. We go around the loop a number of times. The second time you go around is much harder than the first. Simply because you know, or think you know, what's coming. Yeah.
So one thing I like about that way he explains is that many times we kind of visualize this jhanas as levels like this, but he is visualizing it as a spiral. So we have this, then we kind of come back over here. Then we come back over here with a little bit more understanding. We come back over here again with a little bit more. So there is ups and downs throughout the practice. So you just keep enhancing your understanding as you go through that cycle.
The thing about a spiral is there's a direction you're going in. But you don't get one of these without one of these. whatever that represents. Okay? So it's not a constant process of this is. Okay? So this might be an expansion of experience, and this may be a consolidation of understanding, or whatever it is. So we have to expect this cyclic aspect, not simply a straight line of progress.
Okay, then now we'll share the merits.
Please find your page that looks like this.
May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty powers, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.